And we are going again.
I think it may be.
All right, so here we are. It's November 30th. We're here with H Freeze. We are definitely...
It's December 1st.
Oh, gosh. We have went over the midnight mark. Okay.
That was 4 hours ago.
Thank you, Mr. Bash. So, H Freeze, so, you've been called here basically because of your youthful take on everything. And it's very intriguing to someone like me to hear, where you come from. I want to hear, when was the first time in your life, what year, what date, what age were you when you became aware of politics?
I think when I fully became aware was in January 6th, 2021.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, the Insurrection Day.
Yep.
So what is your understanding of January 6th?
A total, for me, that was the collapse of the Republican Party, and then what we now have as the MAGA Party in my mind.
Wow. This is coming from a 19-year-old voter.
Because in my mind, we fully had this vision that Trump was, or growing up with that, since I was little, a right choice for the Republican Party to move forward. Mike Pence. And then when January 6th hit, that really exposed, the cult side of things in my mind.
So what do you think of Mike Pence and what he did that day?
I think what Mike Pence realized was who his partner was. You know what I'm saying? Like, who the leader of the free world was at that time. He realized it's less of a presidency and was starting to be more of a dictatorship with how things were. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and they've all agreed that January 6th was the start of what we have now. Like, that was just the tip of the iceberg of what we're going on.
I agree totally. So, a lot of the MAGA voters and the MAGA followers and the Trump loyalists, call this guy a traitor for the way he chose to act that day. What do you think about his actions of that day?
I think he stepped up. I think I would... that... Dang, I had it written down and everything.
Can I take this moment to throw in my 2 cents?
Yes.
Even with all my dislikes and disagreements with Mike Pence, the one thing that I am grateful for was him actually doing his job and confirming the results. He didn't knuckle under. He actually went against the president and did his job.
Dude, I would almost vote for Mike Pence right now.
I wouldn't. But I will say I am grateful he did his job today.
He will be the first person to take every one of your rights and everything that I believe in. But I'll tell you what, I completely agree with you, Bash, in the fact that he stood with the Constitution on that day. And he did what he was supposed to.
And people were literally trying to kill him.
Right. And they had a guillotine. They had a guillotine, but this was
gallows. Not a guillotine, gallows.
This was just gallows. Okay. This was just performative, right? This was just trolling the libs.
Well, they murdered an officer and was smearing feces on the wall. Who knows how far they would have gone.
Right. And, but it was just peaceful. I mean, we let them in, right? The DC police let them in, and it was just a guided tour from what we hear.
And after we read a book in high school called 1984.
Oh,
and
very good.
It kind of seems like what we're going through right now, with the Trump administration being Big Brother. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. That's been happening since the Patriot Act.
So tell me about 1984. I'm not aware of that.
For real?
No, I'm for real. 47 years old. I'm telling you right now.
That's going to be a whole podcast on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like no joke. Write that down. That's gonna be a podcast all on its own.
Right. Well, we can, but what I want to hear is what, H Freeze is talking about, how this pertains to Mike Pence and the, what I call an insurrection on January 6th, because he's the one that brought this data.
The day that he got into politics.
Yeah. More of during 1984, it's kind of like you had your propaganda moments that, oh, we're in a war. So-and-so country of the main character in 1984, his country was in a war that wasn't even real. Like how Trump said, he basically said that they were at war with the Democrats. There was no war whatsoever. And then basically it's more of, I'm watching you do what you do. Like how Big Brother's always watching. Trump's always watching to do his bidding. Like and then they actually have a little they actually have a little quote unquote riot, but in 1984 that's supervised by Big Brother, like how it was supervised by Trump to get the end result that they want. And then it's like they redacted a lot of stuff in 1984 to make it seem like it didn't happen, like how they did for January 6th. It's really interesting. If you
So I'm lost here, Mash, the historian. What is he getting at as far as
I'm going to have to give you an entire education lesson plan on 1984, just on how massive it is. Like I said, it will have to be a video.
Give me the cliff notes for 30 seconds.
Government's in absolute control. They control all information. They watch everything you absolutely do. You cannot step out of line. Like even the narrative, everything is under their control. That's the quickest cliff note I can give.
Okay, so 84. Who was this? Carter, Reagan? Who was this?
This book was written like in the 30s.
Okay, I'm talking about 1984.
Oh, 1984. Yeah, that was going to be Ronald Reagan.
Okay,
but they didn't know that then.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the book. The book was written like 50 years before then.
Wow. So H Freeze. So January 6th happens. You see the craziness. We even got people like Lindsey Graham, who super MAGA loyalist. I mean, this guy flip flops more than fucking anyone I've ever seen in my entire life.
And there's apparently a bottom.
He likes what he likes. We don't knock that. We don't knock that. But here's the thing: this guy, at that point on that day, we see senators running across the hall. We see people running. Immediately, their reaction is, these folks need to be held accountable. This was by far an insurrection. This was an attack on our government, and they need to be held accountable. And then once the smoke cleared, where did they go? They immediately went to flip-flopping. Oh, they let them in. They did this. They did that. Apparently, this made an impression on H Freeze. He was young enough to see this. This was when he got into politics. He saw this insurrection. He saw this attack on our Capitol. He saw this freaking weirdo that's, dressed up like a Buffalo Bill, smearing shit on the wall, claiming, whatever he is. And they were scared. They were scared. Every one of them were scared. They all secluded, ran to their bunkers, ran to their safe space, did all that, and then immediately recanted. Like, what did you think when you heard of all of these people when they immediately flip-flopped of their position of this?
I thought it was I thought it was nuts. And then, and then just to think about it, and like you're watching this live, and say if you were, an immigrant, you watch this live, you're just a person of color, you watch this live, and immediately after they blame it on Antifa, which Antifa had nothing to do with it. It's just MAGA entirely.
Well, they blamed everybody. They blamed the FBI, CIA, Joe Biden, Democrats, claimed that they were paid actors. I mean, they were, again, with the Republicans, the everything. They were patriots, they were martyrs, but somehow they were the enemy. I don't understand it myself.
But as a person just coming into politics, I mean, he told us this is his first interaction here. This is his first realization that he most likely needed to be not necessarily an activist, but it was his call.
Yeah, wake up moment
of what it was, you know.
Which on that, what was y'all's wake up moment?
A big one for a lot of folks our age is going to be 9/11. But me, I grew up with it because my parents were big into politics. My grandparents were big into politics. It was usually something political on somewhere on the TV in the house.
But what was it? Narrow it down.
A lot of it was
the moment,
late Reagan era, and it's going to sound crazy, but do you remember Genesis, the band?
Oh yeah, Phil Collins.
Right, and one of their music videos, like this is the world we live in. They used a lot of these weird-looking Jim Henson-style puppets, and it featured a lot of Gorbachev and Reagan, and that's when I started recognizing who these people are, and started paying attention to what was going on in the world. Okay. Because there was that cartoonish, this caricature being featured in music videos and cartoons, and then you associate with what you're seeing on TV, and that's when you start paying attention. And I remember the Berlin Wall coming down, being on TV, pickaxes, and a lot of that stuck in my head as a child.
I think they were selling the rocks from it.
Right. But I remember all the imagery that came from it. Another band did a song talking about the situation of cult of personalities. And it talked about how these personalities of these politicians and world leaders being hyped up to unimaginable extents.
I was thinking Living Color, but
I didn't get to start watching In Living Color until the 90s.
I'm not even talking In Living Color. I'm talking about Living Color. Actually saying cult of personality.
Okay, I was thinking about the TV show because starting in '89 is when I developed a sleep issue. So even though I'd be sent to bed, I'd still just lay there in the bed. I could see the TV, and I'd watch Herman's Head and Living Color and all that jazz on the TV while my parents, Dad would fall asleep in his recliner and stuff, and I'd still just be like,
so the wall coming down was a lot for you, and 9/11 was a lot for you.
Yeah.
Was there a defining moment that you decided, hey, I think I need to follow all of this?
That would have to be, I'd have to say, with the Monica Lewinsky, Bill Clinton thing. That's when I really started following.
Wow. Okay.
Because then I wanted details, because you'd hear somebody talking shit on one side, and they'd be like, he should be out of office because he cheated on his wife. But that's not a crime. That's not an impeachable offense. And people still get it wrong a lot. What he was impeached for was lying under oath.
Right.
People keep getting that part wrong.
I want to say, that wasn't mine, but since you mentioned it, it really was big. Because they said, hey, he was, getting head in the Oval Office or whatever. And I was like, okay, but it's Clinton. It's whatever. This was our president. This was less than how a president needs to be acting. But when they said, yes, the Congress found that he lied, I said, okay, that's impeachable. And when they started using the word impeach, I said, look, they found out he lied. This is it. He's out. He's done. I was good with that. I was good with our government working in that way. I didn't care that the dude got head of the fucking Oval Office. I don't care. I don't care about that.
Did you even hear about all the Secret Service agents that got in a shit ton of trouble because they were brought before Congress to testify, and every single one refused to do so?
No, I didn't hear anything about that. All I know is they found him guilty, and I was okay with that. And, the reason why I'm just like, okie doke, whatever with that is because, hey, if you lied and you're in office, see ya, dude. It's just that simple.
And his punishment was nothing.
Right. But I kind of wanted to get into where, since he talked about where he got into politics and you got into politics, I kind of want to talk about where I got into politics.
In the next episode.
Let's do that.
All right, bet.